Hey there everyone, welcome back to the workshop. And in this part I wanted to start out and just give you kind of an update of where I am. I didn't film taking the guitar apart, the VOX bass, but what I've done is, you can see here, everything is off the bridge, the tailpiece, and I've put some bags with stuff, the tuners and buttons and other things. I've got a broken button here. I've got an idea of how I'm going to deal with that, but I'm running that by the owner first before I do anything along those lines. The neck plate, back neck plate, it's got the, see if I can put that up here for you, Apollo 4, and it's got the serial number of the bass on there. So I'm gonna have to order some. I'm kind of making a list of things that I know I'm gonna need to order. I was trying to figure out a way to show you these being bent, and I didn't find a good way, but these 3 screws here are bent. 3 of the 4 neck screws, when they came out, I could just tell by the way they were spinning coming out that they were bent. So I'm gonna order a new set. They come in pack of 4 typically, and so I'll order a new set, and I will probably end up filling these holes, just because if they got ovaled out by the other screws, that would just be a good thing to do there. So let me show you a couple of the things that I've done. I've gone through and done my typical, you've watched me multiple times on other videos. I take a razor blade. I just take a razor blade, and I'll do this. When I do this, I just get a new one because it's nice and sharp. And there was just a ton of dirt and all kinds of crap on the fretboard. So I took the razor blade and did that little deal. I've showed you that before. I oiled, and then cleaned it up, brushed it off really good, and then oiled it. And I just use linseed oil for that, boiled linseed oil, boiled and not boiled, doesn't really matter on that, but I just use linseed oil and put a coat on there. I thought this was kind of interesting. It's stamped with a V. The other thing I did, this is the adjuster for the truss rod. I got the neck as straight as I could possibly get it. We got some unevenness in the frets, so as part of this, I don't know if you really want to call it a restoration, but cleanup / restoration / setup of this thing, I'm going to do a fret leveling, recrowning, polishing, and all that, just so we can get a really good setup on the bass. As I mentioned, the first fret action, this has a 0 fret in it, and the first fret action was really high, so I'm going to end up probably taking this down, the 0 fret, to lower that first fret action. It was up in the 35 thousandths range, and it needed to be probably somewhere in the 22 would be a better thing for that. But I just did my focus at this point has been on the neck. I did some cleanup, so let me just kind of flip it around. And this is where it's bolted on, so I wasn't worried too much about that, and I haven't done anything as far as fill or finish or anything on the back. So I may address that little spot because you can see it, but I did a good cleanup, and man, it really helped. Tuners, of course, you can see where the tuners have been, and I probably won't do too much around those areas, but got a chip out here. I've already dyed it, and I will drip fill some lacquer another spot up there. I'll do the same, but let me show you. I've been doing that on the front, and the reason I use the lacquer, and try to get at a point where maybe stand it up here. There we go. And the reason I use the lacquer is because the lacquer doesn't, as I understand it, somebody can correct me, of course, if I'm wrong, but as I understand lacquer, the more applications, and this one has had several, and it's going to need several more to try to build up a decent layer. I'd like to get it level, everything level and flush. So I've been filling a few spots, and the lacquer just goes down in spots, and you just have to keep applying and applying, and then sanding, and maybe even apply some more after that. But as I understand how the lacquer works, and the reason that it's good for, I think, and for something like this, is as you apply or do more applications, it's not like a polyurethane where you have a layer, it dries, and then you've got another layer on top of that, another layer on top of that. The lacquer that I apply over this, again, as I understand it, the lacquer becomes part of the layer underneath, which is part of the reason it shrinks so bad, I think. But when I go and I put another layer on here, it will actually become part of this layer here. And again, doing that is not all that big a deal. Oh, sorry about that, got you out of the camera. You can kind of see how still how not even that is, but I've done several applications of the lacquer there, but it was all the way down to the bare wood. So at least at this point I've got the wood covered and protected. But I just thought I'd bring you in, give you a really quick update, and when I make a little more progress, I will bring you back in. Okay, welcome back. I kind of gave you that walkthrough, and I thought I would just show you. As you can tell, I'm on the back of the headstock now, and I think you can see there's a spot here that's pretty much down. It's got some exposed wood. There's another spot here, and then another spot here where the wood is exposed. And what I've been doing is on the front, and this one I've already done with some amber dye. I'm going to put some amber colored dye here and here, and then I'm going to show you how I go about putting in, or just doing the little drips with the lacquer, and just kind of bring you along for a little bit of that. It's really kind of, don't want to film a lot of it because it's kind of it's really tedious, and just, you know, it's working and then letting stuff dry and then working, and it's, yeah. So I have some they're aniline dyes, and this is just an amber color, and I'm hoping I can do this and see and all of that, and keep you in the light here, or in the film. So we're gonna just give this a shot. Excuse me. And really the idea is just to kind of get this to blend back in, so just hit it with a little bit of the dye there and see what you're seeing. Then that actually blends in pretty well. Once I hit it like that, I just take a little paper towel and dry it like that, and I'm really trying to see and keep you in the, or to keep the headstock in the picture for you there. All right, a little more just right there. And you kind of got to be a little bit on the careful side, because it will, you know, you just want it to blend, you know, because it'll, you know, if you get too much dye, it's too dark, and I mean, it's just really, working with finish is really touch and go. I'm just going to take some of the lacquer there, try to blend that back. Yeah, that's better. I don't know if you can pick that, if that's going to pick that up on the camera, but at least to my eye, that blends a little better. So, or a little of the, I'm just using lacquer thinner with the dye, and to me that blends better than just the exposed wood. There's also some stuff up here on the top of the headstock. I'm not going to show you that, but let me put the lid back on everything and all of that, get that out of the way. So let me pause the camera just for a second, and then I'm going to show you get positioned, I'll try to show you the drip fill for the lacquer. Okay, repositioned just a little bit, and I've got the headstock kind of propped up. Not sure that I even have it at a very good angle here. I mean, it's a good angle so you can see. I just hope it doesn't run it. The lacquer doesn't run down this way. So what I've got is I'm just using some brushing lacquer, and again, I kind of explained the whole lacquer thing in the last segment, so I'm not going to redo all of that, but I'm just using this small bristle brush. Right, it's just a thin liner brush, and I'm just dipping it into the lacquer and getting a nice little drip on the end. And then just kind of filling in where the finish is missing. And it'll take several applications, but once that dries, it's going to sink down into everything, and the wood will absorb some of it and all of that, but it'll sink down in. And excuse me, but I'll have to do several applications. But what that'll do is mainly it'll protect the wood. And I'm going to go ahead and hit these other two spots while I'm just yakking at you. But it'll fill in or protect the wood, but with several applications it'll kind of even out the surface, and then do a little bit of wet sanding and polishing, and it'll look good. It's not going to look perfect, you know. I'm not refinishing anything. I'm just trying to make it look like an well cared for old guitar. That's kind of what I'm shooting for. It's an old guitar, and so we're going to keep it looking its age. It's like me, it's old. So we're going to keep it looking its age. But we're going to make it look like it's been well cared for in its life. And that's really what we're going for. So that's kind of what I wanted to bring you along for on this little segment here, is just show you those fills. And with this kind of stuff, it's just, you know, I apply the lacquer, now I have to let it dry, and then apply some more, let it dry, apply some more, let it dry. And then once it's really, really good and dry, I can go and do some wet sanding and stuff, and I'll bring you along for all of that. But I just wanted to give you a quick update and kind of show you what I'm doing there with all of that. So that's all for now, and when I make a little more progress, I will bring you back. All right, welcome back. I thought I'd just do another short little segment. I was able to get the pickup cover off of it was a little bit of a fight, but I was able to get the pickup cover off of the single coil pickup. And as I stated in the first video, that I wanted to make this look better. At some point, this was broken. As you can see, here's the piece, and that's approximately how it's supposed to go in there. And what somebody had done, because this was just laying down inside once it came apart, what somebody had done, I don't know if you can maybe see that, but this was stuck down in there. That to me looks like a piece of electrical tape. Let me kind of bring it up a little bit closer to you there. Looks like a piece of electrical tape with some kind of epoxy or glue or something, and it was all over. And they had that kind of, I can't even get it in there, but they basically had tried to fill the hole with that, and it looked really bad. So I was able to get the pickup cover off, and if I put the piece that's broken, and again, I'm zoomed way in, so I'm just going to fit this in here so you can kind of see what it looks like. I've done a test fit already, which is going to look not bad. So there's the piece back in. Let me bring it up here and show you a little bit. It's got a little bit of a chip out there, and there's also a little bit of a crack. Again, I'm not sure what caused this to crack, but you can see, get the piece back in there, and I have to figure out if I'm going to try to do anything to maybe fill that little hole right there with something to kind of make it look better. But basically, I'm just going to use some super glue, and I'm going to glue that piece back in. As you can see with the test fit, it makes it look a lot better already just doing that. I would like to clean it up a little bit more, and I may try to figure something out. If I do that, I'll let you know on that for sure. But plastic is interesting to try and do stuff with sometimes, depending on the type of plastic. So anywho, I've kind of had to spread this, and it is plastic, so I have to be careful. And what I'm going to use for this is I'm using a gel super glue. And the reason that I'm doing that is it has more working time, and it also, the other reason is if I were to use liquid, and I have some thin liquid super glue, but if I were to use that, it has a tendency to just kind of run everywhere, and I really don't want it to run everywhere. I want to be able to control where it goes. So I'm just going to get, again, I don't know how much of this, I've got you zoomed in pretty far here. Let me see, maybe if I zoom back out a little bit, maybe you can kind of, I'm going to try to do with just the tip, see if I can get in there, because there's really shouldn't be any pressure on here, so shouldn't need a ton of glue. I do want to try to cover as much as I can of the surface, but it's not like it's under tension. So alright, I think that looks pretty good. And I'm going to try to get the piece back in, hopefully, and not glue my finger down in here. So wish me luck on that. And just trying to see how it looks there. Push it up into place. Alright, and we're just going to let that dry for a little bit, because again, the gel does take a little bit of time. It's not an instant thing. So sorry, got you out of the camera there. It did leave a little bit of a residue on there, but I think I can clean that up and make it look way better, way better than it was. So just wanted to show you I found that little piece, and again, just another little segment here of getting this VOX base back going. So I'm gonna let you go, and I'll bring you back in when I feel like I have something interesting to show you. I'll bring you along for it. Alright, welcome back. Thought I would just been doing a little bit of work here on the VOX base, so I thought I'd just turn the camera on and maybe give you a little bit of an update. I think the last thing you saw was pickup cover that I glued back together. And just to kind of show you what I've done, this will be my second, maybe third application. I'm trying to make it look better because it was broken and cracked. That's how it looks right now, so it's kind of not looking that great. But once it's sanded and polished a little bit, it's going to look pretty good. I've been using this as just some Bondo spot putty, and I put some, it's kind of a, I don't know what color you would call it, but it's definitely not black. But I mixed in some black dye, and that's kind of what I come up with. This application here, this just needs to dry. I'll bring you back in and give you an update, let you see how that looks. I'm going to do some sanding and polishing and all of that. So I just thought I'd give you a little bit of an update on that. Now, what I'm going to work on next is, and I think I mentioned this maybe in the first video or earlier in this video, the tailpiece. Let me just kind of bring it over here. The tailpiece should have an insert in it with should be a wooden insert in this section here with the letters VOX running vertically up and down. So what I've done is I've taken some time. I took a little piece of cardboard and I can show you here, get it inserted. It's a snug fit, which is what I wanted. So I made a cardboard template that'll fit the opening there. And what I've done is I ordered this is just a wood laminate. I measured it, it's about 19 thousandths thick. And what I'm going to do, and let me show you this too, because the reason I ordered that piece is if you look at the wood on the fretboard, that matches once it's oiled. This is just the raw wood, but I mean once that's oiled, that's going to match pretty good, I think. So that's the reason I ordered that piece. What I've done is I've actually cut it into 6 pieces, and this is going to be, I think, the outside, because I've kind of given them the once over, and the one I think is best and the one I think matches the fretboard best and the way the grain runs and all of that. I've tried to match it with kind of with the fretboard there, and then I'll use this and cut it out. I'll trace that around, cut it out, and fit it so it's going to fit nicely in there. And then I found, and maybe I'll put having issues with the camera here. I'm going to adjust you really just a little bit because I'm having issues seeing what you're seeing, and I need to make sure that you're in the film there. Okay, good. So I think I mentioned this early on. I was looking for some letters, and I found a place and ordered some, and I think they're going to work. So I'm going to end up doing something along these lines here. Something like that for the wooden insert, and I think it's going to look really good. So it's going to be a tight fit because I had to order the letters. The 1-inch letters was as small as I could order, so it's going to be a tight fit, but they're going to look really good, I think. So that's the idea. They're actually, bring it up close there, they're actually laser cut, so they're really dark around the edge, which I think works in my favor. But they're actually laser cut from MDF, so they're actually wood. And I found a font that's very, very close. So it's going to look good, I think. It's going to match really nice. So what I'm doing right now is kind of get all of this out of the way. Is I'm gonna glue. I've cut the sheet of wood veneer is what it is. I've cut it into 6 pieces, and I'm actually gonna glue it together. Just use Titebond and glue it all together so that I end up with a piece that's around 110 thousandths or so thick, maybe it'll be between 110 and 115 thousandths thick. The back of the tailpiece, this here, I've got at least 135 or 140 mint is the lowest spot there. So the 110, 115 is going to fit in there really nice. And so I just thought I'd show you how I'm going to go about doing this. Let me pause. I need to grab a couple of things and get ready for the glue up. I'm going to clean these a little bit just to make sure the surfaces are clean. I'm going to use Titebond. So I need to grab the Titebond. I need to grab a brush. I need to get some water in a bowl. So I need to get a couple of things. So let me do that and I'll be right back with you. Okay, back with you. Got a couple of things, got my clamps, and I'm using I'm actually using these types of clamps because I can put a lot more clamping pressure with these than I can the squeeze type clamps. So, and I really want to clamp down. I've got some wax paper, I've got some glue, I got a brush, got over here paper towels and water for any squeeze out that I might want to clean up. A couple of boards that I'm gonna sandwich the laminate in between and clamp it. So, all right, let's get on with this. I'm just gonna do some cleaning here. I'm gonna grab a paper towel. And again, I didn't really have any of this planned out. I just was doing some work, thought I'd turn the camera on. So if it's kind of doesn't flow very well, that's why. But figured you might want to just see a little bit of what I'm going to do here. And at this point, I'm just using some lighter fluid, and I'm just going to clean the surfaces that I'm going to glue. The desk is kind of dirty from where I was working, so that's why I have just a notebook here. But the laminate, depending on what kind of wood, they claim rosewood, but you know how that goes. Something that looks like rosewood, but it could have, see stuff coming off there, resins and other things in the wood. So thought I'd give it a quick wipe down with some stuff. And this is the order I'm going to glue them, by the way. I'm wiping them off. So a lot of excitement there, right? All right, so here's kind of the plan, order of operations. Here's the glue. This is going to be the exposed surface. So when everything is said and done, I'll trace the pattern on there. Make sure I got you in there. So I'll trace the pattern, cut it out, and I'll cut it a little bit bigger, and that way I can use files and really get a nice fit. So can always go smaller. It's hard to put wood back on once you take it off. So I always go a little big and kind of work my way down and get a really nice fit. So, all right, that's kind of the plan. So what I'm going to do is we have to get glue on all the surfaces. So surface here, and then both surfaces as I go all the way down. And then I'm going to put some wax paper so the glue doesn't stick to, or what I'm gluing doesn't stick to these boards, and I'm going to sandwich it between here and clamp it as tight as I can clamp it. So that's the plan. So here we go. All right. gonna worry about too much about cleaning anything up yet. And I'm using the wax paper because the glue won't stick to the wax paper. And again, really the only one that we're worried about is the top piece. The others just need to kind of be in place there. I'm just trying to get this where not all going to slide around on me. All right, got the wax paper wrapped around there, the two pieces. They overhang a little bit, but the piece is quite a bit thinner. It's quite a bit thinner than the pieces I cut, so I'm not worried too much about the edges there. I'll just make it even. All right, so I think that's gonna do it right there. I'm gonna go ahead and get a clamp on here. And I think, probably should have opened them. I think I'm gonna try to put 3 clamps. I'm gonna do first one in the middle, and then do the other on the other 2 on the outside. So try to eyeball this and see if I can find the best place here to put my first clamp. All right, there's the first one, roughly in the middle there. And now I'm going to take another one and I'm going to put this one on from the other side. And this will put a serious amount of pressure on those pieces of veneer that are basically what we're doing is we're creating a laminate, right? So gluing 6 different pieces of wood together to make them one. So we're making our own laminate. All right, there's 2. Let me get tightened a little bit. And again, I'm going to put a lot of pressure on this, so I'm going to tighten these clamps up once I get the other one on. I'm going to tighten these as tight as I can get them. And I'm just clamping between a couple of pieces of, I got just some plywood is what I'm using on either side of just stuff I had laying around. All right, now I'm gonna get these, like I said, I'm gonna tighten these as tight as I can. A lot of pressure. So we got good glue coverage, we got good clamping. And yeah, that's, I'm sure if I put a wrench or something on there I could get them tighter, but that's pretty tight. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a glue squeezing out between those laminates. But yeah, that should make a nice sturdy piece for us to cut the insert from. So I'm going to set that aside, let it dry. Hey there again. Thought I'd bring you back for the unveiling and see how we did on the laminate. Sorry for all the mess back here. I've been doing some buffing and polishing and using the, I've got these things that hook up to the drill, so I've been buffing and polishing and it kind of gets everywhere. So apologize for the mess, but thought I'd at least bring you in for the reveal on this. And I think my wife has dinner ready, so this will be a quick little segment here. Just wanted to pull this out, see what it looked like. Undo the clamps. Remember, I did them super tight, at least for me, as tight as I could get them. So, hoping the wax paper did its job here. Looks like it did no problem, at least as far as that goes. We hopefully can peel this out of here. We'll have to do some cleanup, but yeah, I think that's gonna, oh man, that's solid. Yeah, that's gonna be good. I have to do a little bit of cleanup, maybe a little bit of sanding, but there's my piece. And I'm gonna lay this down. I'm gonna get this wax paper gone so don't get glue everywhere. Whew, it is still yucky for, let's see. All right, I mean, that's just a squeeze out, and then where the wax paper had wrapped around and all of that. It'll clean up, no problem. But yeah, just a little bit of light sanding on this side, and that's going to be good. All right, I just wanted to do a little bit of unveiling on the laminate. I'm just going to lay it here, let all this stuff dry so I can scrape it off and clean it up. Hey there, and welcome back. I've been doing some work without you, actually, and just thought I would turn the camera on, give you a bit of an update. I kind of explained, I think, what it is that I was going to try to do with this tailpiece insert, and just making sure I got you in the camera here. I think I showed even the glue up of this. Turned out great, actually. You can see how thick that piece ended up being. And again, that was just the laminate, which was 19/20 thousandths thick, and I cut 6 pieces, glued them together. Then I took the pattern that I made, traced it, took it to the saw, cut it out, and have that fit to the tailpiece, and it's a super nice fit. You can see on the back there. This still needs to have some cleanup and stuff done on it on the back, but that's a super nice fit. It's not too tight. It's really rigid, and it looks super nice. So I mocked it up and sent a picture over to the owner, and he was pretty happy with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mock it up for you, and I'm going to adjust the camera. I apologize for how messy and stuff the bench is, but it's been working, so it's, you know, it just is what it is. So yeah, let me mock this up. And I think I mentioned in the earlier video about possibly even trying to paint these. I've got these MDF laser cut letters, and he liked it the way it was, so I'm not even going to do that. We're just going to assemble it and glue it together, and then put some oil on it to kind of finish it and go with it that way. So there's the and the edge of the desk is kind of, if you want to think of that as the end of the guitar, because this is the tailpiece. So this helps it sit flat there. I need to adjust the camera just a little bit, so give me just a second there. Trying to see what you're seeing. A lot of glare on the chrome, but you'll get the idea, I think. All right, and then the letters, and like I said, 1 inch was about the smallest I could get, so it's going to end up something like this. So that's what we're going to end up with in the for the tailpiece insert. Okay, it's been a few minutes. I thought I'd bring you back, give you an update on where I am with the tailpiece insert. I've also done some more drip fill and all of that with the lacquer, so been a little busy. Anyway, what I've done is taken the letters, put a little bit of wood glue on the back side, and then they're on here, and I'm giving the glue just a few minutes to get a little bit on the tacky side, and you can see, I mean, the letters won't fall off. I've got some tape there on the back to hold everything together, but the letters aren't falling off, so it's tacked up pretty well. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get this insert. I need to put a clamp on this. I might be able to do it just where it is. Let's see, because I don't need a whole lot of pressure. I just need, yeah, I think I'm going to try to do it just maybe like that. That way the glue can, it does need a little bit of clamping pressure. And I think what I'm going to do is just put that block across there. And then maybe you can see this. I'll just set it on the clamp there, and I'm going to clamp in the center. So the clamp's going on the back side of the insert. Let's see, that kind of slid a little bit. I kind of want to keep this centered over those letters. And I centered the letters by eye. It looks really good to me. So again, I messaged the owner about all of this, so try to keep you in the film, but I'm trying to be able to see too. So I've got one of these, I think they call them spring clamps, with the little trigger, and not a lot of pressure, but just enough to put some pressure on there while the glue sets up. And I got to get ready and head to my real job. So I think what I'll do is just leave that clamped up. There shouldn't be squeeze out and all that. I didn't put that much glue on there. I put enough to what I felt would be enough to hold the letters and keep them from coming off, but I didn't really want any squeeze out. So I'm going to leave it there and let it do its thing. And just wanted to give you that little couple of minute update, and I will be back with you again with this particular section of videos. I'm just working and working. I couldn't videotape at all because it's just been hours and hours of work, but I did want to bring you along for some of it, kind of show you some of the things that I was doing. So that's where we are with this. So just another little update for you. I've got this clamped up, and I think it's going to be, I think it's going to hold together really well, and it should be good. But when I come back, the next thing I'm going to show you is I kind of have an idea of how I'm going to mount this in the tailpiece, and then how I'm going to finish it. Actually, we'll finish it first and then mount it in the tailpiece. But I'll do that in the next segment. Like I said, I got to get ready and get to my real job here, so I'll be with you next time.